Sawa. So the reason nilikuwa naweka kidole chini about maandamano is obviously the reason why wanasema tuache maandamano is because maandamano is effective. At this point, anything gava inasema, I think what they are saying, I think we can assume the opposite is the right thing. Kwa hivyo wakisema kuna maandamano, it means maandamano inafinya in the direction we want. So that is the case for maandamano. The only other thing is, is na ndo Anthony amesema about watu wa biashara nini, nothing good comes easy. Kwa hivyo it's time for sacrifice. The rot yenye tunajaribu kufix has happened for a very long time. Now these guys in Wakondani, we don't trust one, we don't think they have the best in mind for Kenya. They don't have ideas. They don't have any good ideas. Kasa Ruto, he thumbs his chest about the things he's thinking atafanyia Kenya, but we all know those are not going to take us anywhere. So not only are they incompetent and corrupt, they also don't have any ideas to get us to the next level. Or if they undermine our potential. So Ruto has to go, and all these guys, including Raila na kila mtu. We need fresh blood, fresh ideas, and all that. Kwa hivyo maandamano lazima iende. Yes.
Tell us your ideas. Yes. I can tell you that wewe ni Genzs. So tell us, if we had government today, mimi tungefanya ABCD. Tungeshukisha misha. I don't want to put points in your head. Sawa. By the way, msema kweli, hakuna mtu anaoppose kuandamana. Mimi niko na biashara, nasikia kuandamana nilialawase wale wangu ndio wanataka kwenda kuandamana waende kuandamana. You had a cause. Mulikuwa mnasema vitu right. Na nyinyi you were bold enough like Kibe said. Mulikuwa bold enough to take on gava. Mkakuwa so bold, mkafanya president aingie kwa space. Mkakuwa so bold, by the way muliachieve tuwasewa joy achieve. Ile kitu tu tunataka tujue, hii movement ni yenyu, ni sawa. Tumekubali na tumetii. Alright? Ebu tuambieni, okay, msema kweli, do you believe gava tunaweza mka kesho gava iko imechange? How do we get to the Kenya we are fighting for? As in tuanzeni kutupea solutions. Millennials wanasema tume gain ground, tukaitwa kwa negotiating table ya kuchagua IBC, tukakataa. So IBC haitakuwa ile si tunataka. Tumetrust huyo mse tunasema hana plan achague IBC. Tungetranscend tuende kwa table ya kuchagua cabinet. Tumesema hata hiyo hatutaki. Ile mikutano tu tunataka ni ile we are talking at each other. So how do we get to the Kenya we want? Kama tukipewa chance ya kushape IBC tunakataa. Tumepewa opportunity ya kushape katiba cabinet. Nisema kweli cabinet ndio nchi. Tukapewa opportunity ya kushape cabinet tukakataa. Tunasema tunataka kurecall MPs. Nikupe procedure ya kurecall MP. Kwanza mwanze muandike barua, muokote signatures. Hebu ni show tu idea yako cause mimi naona ni kama hata mko idealess. To be very honest, and I'm not being rude. Hamuna endgame. Hebu tu ni show endgame yani tunataka kuwa understand.
So I think at the least Sai, because we are not obviously changing a country then that so much has gone wrong for so many years, it's not going to happen overnight. But in the meantime, I agree. There's a good reason to figure out how to engage, at least in the meantime, while we figure how to get these guys out. There's a good reason, and I'm not gonna say I have a monopoly ideas. Nimesikiza watu wengi sana wakisema how to go about it, how to get into the system as it is right now, while we help them unwind, at least to stop misusing things and start fixing the little things we can. But in the meantime, mi sijakuwa convinced that kuna kitu wanafanya right now. Everything I see naona ni kaa self-preservation mode for them, rather than even listening to anything that we're saying. Kwa hivyo I just wanted to just share just about fast maandamano. Obviously that it's effective. I think there's a lot of people who can think a lot about other things, about how do we be effective right now to minimize the damage they are going to cause until when we get in office, So those could be the ideas. Okay, how do we get engaged in a way to minimize the damage they can do right now? The other thing is how, yes.
Allow us to come through. You've just said until the day you will get into the office. How are you preparing to get into the office? If you cannot prepare right now, if you can't even listen, if you don't have a strategy of getting whoever you want to replace in the office, get out. That's what Anthony is asking. So we want to agree, we want to join you But tunakuuliza hii gari yenye unasema unataka kwenda kutoa dereva kama bado inaenda. Utamtoa aje? Alafu wewe ukuje uingie, and how do you prove to us that you are a steady driver, that you can take this country to the next level? That's what we are saying.
No, we
That's
need to
what
be
Anthony
involved
is asking.
because I see the selection panel here, IBC is in progress. We need to be involved with who these people being selected because those have an
Lakini
impact on who ends.
msema
Yeah,
kweli,
yes.
simulitwa kwa hiyo table tukasema tukienda sisi ni wasaliti. Mimi kwanza nilikuwa kwa space ya Kimuzi ukicounter idea yako mwambie okay. I like by the way, after msema kweli tuende kwa Navi. Mimi anaitwa Navi. Unasema tuna need kukua kwa IBC panel ile tunataka. Lakini ukipewa chance ya kukua kwa hiyo panel unasema hautaki kuongea. So who comes in msema kweli? Raila Amolo Odinga. Okay? So tumerudi kwa ile Kenya tutaki. Unajua tulikuwa tumeenda 5 steps ahead, tukakataa kunegotiate, tukakataa kukaa chini. By the way, kuna place Ruto alisema ndio mkuu kwa panel ya maandamano ya IBC mwache maandamano. Hakuna hapo amesema hivyo. Do you know why? Msema kweli. Because mlikuwa mnamsaidia, kuna kitu mlikuwa mnadu ilikuwa ina work for him. Let me tell you, in any war, hata ukiattack any war, nyinyi wote wawili mwenye ana oppress na oppressor kuna kwanga na win-win. So yeye alikuwa ameona window ya ku-overhaul cabinet na ku-overhaul mishahara. Alikuwa anataka ndio isikae ni yeye aambia wase, I'm just thinking outside the box. Aambia wase, by the way mimi nawafuta juu ya wase. So tungefika kwa table tuseme, by the way, si mnasemanga uza mishahara ni kubwa. Kwa nini msana alipwa mita? Juno kuna head wa parastato ulipwa mita. Useme Orezo, hapa naona kuna watu wanalipwa mita. Juu tunaenda interview mpya, hatutaki mtu yote achukue. Unajua venye mlikuwa mnaju. MP alipwa 400 rau, mlikuwa na argument solid. Ndio mpaka washosho wa Geshagi walikuwa na support. Unaget? Lakini wakati mlikuwa mshapiga msha breach the first wall. Mko sasa anawaona, mko hapo, anawaona. Instead mngetake advantage, mwambie nataka kutumia slang yenu. Uza, tunataka MP kwa nalipwa hido. Orezo waambie mimi siwezi correct mshahara ya MP. Muulize ni nani? Ni CRC. CRC tuwe kwa hii meza haraka. Na hata wewe ukicheza tukufute. Can you pay people to reflect the current state of the economy? Ebu niambie CRC, kama tunalipa 1.1 billion kwa mshahara na tunalipa 1.2 billion kwa loan, hatuwezi adjust loan yetu, but tunaweza adjust mshahara yetu, tunaweza adjust wage bill yetu, tuanze kwa adjust wage.
And even
una win,
Anthony,
una get.
Imagine katikati ya maandamano they were so daring bado kupush ati law imesema civil servants bado wanastahili kuongezwa mshahara. They were
exactly. Unajua, as in, you guys were winning. You were winning, but amuku realize when to transition. Na hata sai, in fact nataka msema kweli ukimaliza best yako nothing. Kama unaweza yield kidogo tusikie nothing pia nasema nini?
So nitamaliza in 1 minute.
Ideas.
Yeah, I just have a few seconds left in Malize. So
okay,
what
okay.
I'm saying,
after nothing
yes, yeah, we need to have a plan. I agree, Mrs. Semiat, we need to have a plan, and we just need to have different groups but pursuing different things. But if the protest stops, we'll lose the fight. We need to negotiate and protest at the same time. The reason is because even as we're doing this, the only other thing I was saying about the protest, I'm not sure, and different ideas. One of the most effective things about the protest to actually undermine the economy, undermine the money that they are getting to kill us. So their question is, kwenda CBD na kwenda Uhuru Park, I mean, it might sound good, but I'm not sure that's the most effective. Nimesikia watu wakiuliza, okay, how about closing roads? You know, these guys, the police forces and whatever, they are like 180,000, 18 million of us, you know, there's like 100 of us for each one of them. As I said, every Tuesday and Thursday, it's a protest day for kila mtu. Nobody is going anywhere. Okay, you don't need to be in CBD. Just keep the whatever, just enough, maybe emergency cars na vitu kaa hizo. But until when we get what we need over time, but in the meantime, we have to be prepared for pain. But at the same time, we need people working on multiple fronts, coming in, engaging to minimize the damage. Like once we kill the protest, we'll also kill the momentum and we'll kill the ability, our seat at the table. Because even them, they are using force on their side to undermine us. We also need to use whatever we have, which is protest.
Msema kweli. Just 1 minute. If we sent you to Bomas on Monday next week, utaenda?
If I have the yes, absolutely, nitaenda.
Utaongea?
Kama niko na blessings nitaongea.
Sasa ndo nasema if we
Ngoja,
hapa sahi
Litoma.
you know
Litoma,
kuna mahali
let's
tunaenda
finish.
boss.
Litoma,
Anthony,
nataka
kabla
ufanye
nothing
kitu.
akuje,
Msema
kabla nothing akuje, nataka sasa huyo msema kweli leo sasa tumempata kwa hiyo kona, tuko tunatafuta. Utaenda na ukienda pale utapita aje? Kama unasema nyuma unataka kufunga barabara.
Litoma. Hatutaki kukani kama tuna bash msema
No,
kweli.
this
Msema
is
kweli
not.
kidogo. Wacha nikute. Msema kweli wacha nikutetee.
Yeah.
I want you know jana nilikuwa kwa speaker na msanii anaitwa Tony Gashoka. And I told people in that space, boss, unaona movement yote, si nyinyi you are not the first generation to do maandamano. Lakini to understand your goal, you must study your opponent. Sijui kama una watching ball. Ukiwatch ball, before mwende kucheza na Manchester, mtaenda mstudy Manchester usichezaje, lead scorer ni nani, striker ni nani, so that you know how to counter them. Okay? Now, there's protest tuanza hivi. Mnaanzanga na violent, hiyo ni maandamano, mnachapa magate, mnachapa tear gas na mateke, unarushiwa tear gas, unarudisha kwa gari na baton, hiyo ni tango violent. Then mkigain ground, mnaanza kushift from violent to non-violent. Hii inasemekanaga ni ile ya mna stage, mnasema hivyo umesema Tuesday as we agitate for our grounds, because now we have the media, you must be strategic. Mnaenda mnasema tutakaa around parliament. We shall only move if you
We've lost you Anthony.
Am I back?
Yes you are.
So it worked in a country, I think it's Thailand, I think Rutoma will tell me. They moved from violent means, then they staged a sit down in their capital until the change came. Why? Let me tell you something, msema kweli na nothing. When you do that, when the police attack people who are not violent, you amplify your sound by getting international people to say, why are you tear gassing people who are not violent? So you shift the goal. So that now you help shape the narrative. Okay, that is what Raila Odinga is doing. He's shaping the narrative. That is what William Ruto is doing. They are shaping the narrative. We all want a better Kenya, including William Ruto. William Ruto never thought this would be his legacy. He cannot dare that the world will write this about him. So you need, as you figure out our wins, he will also have an advantage. But msema kweli, I agree with you. One, maandamano iendelee, but it can change this. I think that's the reason leo mnaenda Uhuru Park. Mimi niko mbali, siwezi kuja Uhuru Park. Number 2, umeulizwa ukiitwa utaenda, ukasema ukiwa na blessings. Boss, knowledge is not acquired by blessings, it's osmosis. As you agitate, educate yourself. That's the reason Kenyatta alitoka huku, akaacha Momo kwa msitu, akaenda UK, akasoma katiba ya mkoloni na akaitumia. So, ndio uchape hii serikali, first of all, elewa katiba yake. So that you use their words against them. You tell them the constitution says that we underline shall, unaget? That man used the same constitution to fight the same government. So we need to move from this thing of tear gas, kunona. Don't let the people, the nation turn on you. Sijui kama na make point msema kweli. Unaget? Wezi ambia msi analipa loan, utampe siku 4 za kufanya job. Angekuwa allow space. Lakini for now, anaona hauna endgame, hauna strategy, hauna plan. Tuliuliza Caswell, the most eloquent Genzs. What is the endgame? Don't ask me what is the endgame. Come on, man. What do you mean? You look like Tomboya. You know, you look like Martin Luther King Tomboya all in one. But you don't have an endgame? Do you know hapo ndio nini yenu ili change? Anyway, endelea. Hebu ongea alafu upe. Endelea alafu upe nothing. Na mchange majina zenyu please. So kichita nothing.
Yeah. So anyway,
sawa.
Anthony, me naondoka. Yeah. So all I'm saying is after hiyo maandamano, decentralize it. Kai maandamano, we don't need 100,000 people in CBD. We can have 1,000 in different cities, in different streets. less people will be killed like that. It will be just as effective. Your voices will be heard loud and clear, but at the same time, figuring out the future is changing what we need to change so that hata watu wa biashara, they might suffer right now, lakini when things change, we have competence, direction, less corruption, vitu kaa hizo, their businesses will thrive, hata capital will flow, and more business and opportunity will be created. So you might fight for 1, 2, 3 years, and maybe you might go bankrupt, whatever it is. You know, freedom and better governance is not gonna come easy. We also have to know hata wao wajue Kasmul anasema, they might sound like there's no plan now, but when it's said and done, it will be better for the next 20, 30 years in a better environment. That's in my head.
I agree with you, msema kweli. Say, ambia nothing and mute.
Hi, everyone. I would like to start by paying homage to comrades we have lost along the way, to the sick and injured.
Anthony.
Now, allow me to say this. When someone is talking, I would really appreciate if you Anthony, the other gentleman, you may reduce the interjection, because when you don't allow someone to process what they want to say, then it ends up in a situation where you cannot understand them. Now, allow me to explain why Nothing KE. Nothing KE is a company called Nothing Life Nation, because when you ask a lot of people, what are you doing with yourself? They tell you nothing. But Kenya is a country full of potential, but our potential is not realized because of bad governance. Now, what can we do about Kenya? How did we find ourselves here? Are people against government? There are two issues on the table today, and what brought us here. They are external. There is external interference, and this is World Bank and IMF. There's this narrative and assumption that Genzs don't know what they want. Probably they understand more, but if when we have a platform like this, you may allow them to speak, then there's a lot to learn. Yesterday, and I'm very grateful to Kibe for hosting this, and please don't give up. It will pay off in the end. I put in a link. I wanted people to watch for themselves about how these people play their game. Okay, the president find himself in an awkward place because he's the head of state, and so we take the hit on him. However, how these people play the game, if they impose a president on you, number one thing of what they agree on, and this is a confession by their own, by former head of IMF and World Bank, is to depreciate your shilling. We saw this happen when this government came to power, and they were giving all manner of explanation, but this is how they played. Number two, the loans. The reason why we are saying we need to audit the loans, we want to attach them to infrastructure that these loans were given for. But usually what they do, they allow the corruption we are seeing for a few people to benefit, but then the majority do not end up benefiting. And the people behind this is actually America and Europe. So themselves, they benefit from this loan that we pay because their economy is a credit economy. When you hear them saying Kenya is open for business, they don't mean that Kenya is actually open for business. They mean Kenya is open for plunder. So I wish the president can embrace this movement because it will safeguard him to actually work for the country and cut off the monster, which is IMF and World Bank. Now, so kindly, I'll send the link again, and I urge all of you to watch this so that you understand. So what they do not want is for us to progress. How do you get a country to progress? You have to get cheap electricity. We're surrounded with water. We can harvest water. We had excess rain the other time, but we did not harvest our water. If we can reduce the cost of electricity production, then we'll go into manufacturing. We have so many products. Why are we exporting our skins and hide? Why are we not exporting meat? So we can personally, and Kibe said this yesterday, we need to come on the table with ideas. Personally, when this Nothing KE came up, which was 2020, I found something to do. I'm very passionate about unemployment because a lot of us, you'll graduate from uni and you don't have something to do, but there's a lot we can do. So we can afford our ideas, which is how can we turn this country around. When I hear people say, you can't turn this country around within a short time, I'm shocked for you, because it is possible. If we can have everybody on a platform to listen to each other, to consolidate our ideas, that tells you it is possible. It does not take that long to build schools. When I hear the budget for schools is in billion, wake up Kenyans. What do you mean billion? Even international school, their facilities have not been built with billions. So we need to get on that table and say, what is the cost, or what is the budget for education? And we actually come up, the architect who are unemployed, they should come up with structures for school, and we come up with budgets and make sure that this money that is meant for school is actually implemented, where we cannot have people in 2024 reading outside a classroom. Education is the biggest equalizer. So it is unfair to children across the country who do not have a fair chance to education. And this is how you end poverty. And allow me to explain the different kind of poverty. There's a poverty of the mind, where everybody thinks that our solution will come from the West. It will not come from the West. We are the solution. The advantage we have is that we have the working capital. The youngest generation is here, and that tells you we have a lot of people who can be productive. So if you put those people to good use, great things can come in. People keep talking about a revenue. Not everybody wants to be employed by government. We want a fair ground for us to work in. For example, something as simple as gaming, and the people who are into this, in 2024 is about $20 billion industry. What are we doing about that? So when they start speaking about ICT hubs, they have no idea what they are talking about. So we need young generation on the table to consolidate. If it's ICT hub, it's not only about working. We have seen gamers earning heck a lot of money, and we need to move with, when you want to grow, you follow the money trail. That is one thing. And I have a ton of ideas on how we can do that. So we need to get back to our budget, say a billion, there's this hundreds of billions, and make sure that every place has schools. And there's new technology on construction. So we can embrace the new technology and roll it out. If it's sports, there's so many people who have made money through sports. So we need sports facility. You don't tell us you put a field here and another one there. If you look at the Premier League, majority of people in most of the sports are Africa. Tells you we are special, but we don't give our own a chance to excel to that level. If it's the issue of healthcare, India makes a lot of money from health tourism. We can build infrastructure in Kenya. It's very wrong that today there are people who cannot access healthcare. And when we talk about our healthcare budget, it's in billions. It's insane. It's actually from, I think, 2013 when they started talking about figures in billions. When we have a trillion plus budget, we should have a country that works. uh, Singapore, you will go to jail if you actually try to sabotage a young person's idea. But in Kenya, what they do? The West come here. I'm in a university where they come and pitch, oh, give us your ideas. And what do? They take them back home, repackage them, and then bring them back. There's a Kenyan athlete who was feted because he has an NGO which actually sell Kenyan ideas to the West. I'll give you an example with M-Pesa. The reason why you're seeing all these people here is because of the money M-Pesa is making. So they are looking for ways to get a cut into M-Pesa. Theirs is a credit economy. Ours, it's not a credit economy. That's why you're seeing, with time, banks abroad allowed transfers of money to M-Pesa. And everybody, Bill Gates got a stake in M-Pesa. And talking of Bill Gates, that's one person we should make sure doesn't step foot in this country. When it comes to farming, people assume that these people are brilliant, they're wealthy, when they tell you that our children will not inherit everything. The money their kids will inherit is actually all they have. The rest they say that will go, I don't know where. That is portfolio projection. it does not mean that money exists. So this issue of farmers that we cannot grow our own food, we cannot use our own seedling. It's bananas. And this thing, there's a lady who posted that they had a case in court. We need to follow up with that. They should allow us to grow our own food. If it's about food, and allow me to quote some things, and I'm not saying this to brag. Personally, I've traveled. My father taught us Kenyan history on the road. The way we store our cereals is where the problem is. We should never, we have land everywhere. We should never, ever import maize. But why do we do it? Because we only look at agriculture in terms of, oh, we're going to plow the land, we're going to harvest. When the farmer is harvesting, we're told, oh, you can't sell your produce because of the moisture content. We want to make sure, why are farmers in Kenya today with a budget in agriculture tilling their land with djembe? How can we be able to consolidate our ideas on a platform, but the farmer back at home is still using a djembe? Yet we have Kenyans in this country who can come up with products. Because I feel very bad when I see people looking down on people who have no education. Those will be your biggest employer in future if you actually look at this country in the right ideas. In 2020, we had a young
Nothing.
man who came up
Oh.
with.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to ask you something. And sorry. I don't want. Okay, after you explained your name, my apologies. I hope you accept them.
Accepted.
You know, because we live in a world of perception. So forgive me. But there's something you're doing which I like, which is with all of you Genzs. We were in a space with Josephine talking about employment, for how to create employment abroad. And you've raised something about that. I don't know whether she had it. And I asked them, are we tailoring our jobs to suit the world? Are you getting? Are we tailoring our jobs to suit the world? You said about gaming. Because I told them all of us cannot fit in that space the president has. But my question to you, Josephine, and I want you to go there. You've identified the problems. Okay? Corruption is corruption regardless. How do we get to the Kenya we want from a Gen Z perspective? I want you to give a solution. How do we recraft our government? How do we, you've said about how schools are constructed. We still use the most expensive ways, stone and brick and kagoto and nini. Well, we can use panels. I think that is what you mean. Sindio?
No, what I mean is we can
Modern,
use interlocking bricks.
Good, which is cheaper. So you're asking.
And interlocking bricks, we can actually
you
roll
create
out
employment because there
in
are people
about
who will
3
make.
months.
Exactly.
And
Now,
you actually get the schools built by
now,
locals.
just one minute. That's how they do it in Rwanda, actually. Now, you know that, and I know that. And I can assure you, people in government know that. What you should be asking is, why do we use the same old ways to solve today's problems, yet we have solutions that are cheaper? Are you getting my line of thought?
Because the West is interfering,
No,
and that's why you should not stop the agitation.
I'm not saying we stop
continue
agitation.
to agitate.
Nothing.
We should continue to agitate, but
Okay.
structured, where we tell IMF, get off, hands off our nation.
Okay.
Then, because the president is part of this nation, we can tell him, hey, there's what we know, and there's how we can work towards this process. If
Good.
it's the IEBC you were talking about, we cannot proceed with, people oversimplify things. We cannot proceed with this issue of, get on the table. We first have to scrutinize what is on this bill of IBC,
Okay.
what was signed.
Nothing.
We go through it as a nation, and then now we can board. But
let me just tell you something. Countries are governed with legislation. You know, IMF cannot control, has no say on legislation. Okay? So when we come down, just a minute. When it comes down